What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV. So you guys know that I've been watching this channel for a while. The main reason I created this channel was to expose the corruption that goes on in prison. And who else better to tell us about that than a former Alabama State prison guard? He was on level 5s, 4s, and 3s. So he's got all the juice today, and we're going to hear about it. Hey, man, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself to the people watching that don't know who you are. Just tell them your name and kind of where you're from.
What's up, everybody? This is the corrupt author, Cedric Long, former Alabama Department of Corrections CO. I'm from Wetumpka, Alabama, and I'm here it's going to get very corrupt today, trust me.
Well, that's good. I like to hear about this because a lot of shit goes on and people don't know about it. And this interview, you're going to get to hear all about that. So when did you first started working in the prison system and how did you get into that?
Well, okay. It was 2009 when I joined, man. My cousin just he came about 3 times trying to get me to join correction. Nobody wants to be a correction officer. I'm not looking down on them, but it's not sort of promoted like a policeman or a fireman. No one really even thinks about it unless you're from a small town or you had relatives in it. So you kind of end up there. I had just moved back from Virginia Beach and I just needed a job. And he was like, man, come, I'm going out for the prison. Come work with me. And I was like, man, I ain't working in no prison. Are you crazy? So I looked at the benefits. It was competitive with, I was trying to be a fireman and like they had a 2-year hiring freeze. I was like, man, let me try this out.
So is it hard for somebody to become a correctional officer? Like what do I need to have to do that?
It differs from state to state, but basically no felony, and you need to be able to pass their academy, which is probably like, you need probably like a 9th grade education. Well, you need a high school diploma, but you're gonna have to, I'm a little rusty. We hadn't been in school in a decade, man. So you gotta pass the written test and you got to pass a physical test. Basically, if you could do 22 push-ups and get yourself in shape to run that 1.5 miles, I think it's under 13 minutes, you can make it in.
Which that ain't shit, bro. Like 22 push-ups ain't nothing.
Well, actually now it's very chaotic because they got a basic CO trainees position now, which makes more than what I had started in. And you don't even have to complete that. They'll just bring you in hopes that, in 6 months or a year, you'll try to be promoted. So
when you got the job working at the prison, what was the first prison that you started at?
Well, they sent me to, I actually had a close relatives incarcerated in the town. So they sent me to the women's prison first. It was a level 5 death row, life without, and it was pretty chaotic, man. I'm not gonna lie. It was like the first day of school when your mom dropped you off. You be wanting to cry. Everyone knows you. Everyone's looking at you. You're the new person, but you don't know anyone. I was nervous, man. I just was like, man, one of these, you going in before you meet inmates and actually be around them, you kind of look down on them and you feel like all of them are murderers. And I felt like I was gonna get stabbed in the head like as soon as I got a
So I mean, I can't imagine, bro, like walking in myself to a prison with thousands of women inmates. Like, what was the first, that had to have been a culture shock? Because I know them girls be doing some savage ass shit in there, man.
Okay, man, I'm not a bad looking guy, but I promise you the first day they hollered.
I already know.
And I turned into Will Smith or something. And then Taylor, like they start running up to the grills and you're not used to women approaching you and being aggressive. They were catcalling. Some lady threw her underwear. It was crazy, man. I was scared in so many ways. It was just unknown, man. They telling you go here, you don't even know the structure, man. And they left me alone pretty quick, man.
What was your vibe towards them when they were doing all that shit? Like, were you like, hey, bitch, you better not fucking do that? Or were you more like a mellow officer?
I'm mellow. I'm gonna say yes, sir, no, sir. I'm Southern. I got, that hospitality in me. That's how I was taught, but that doesn't work in corrections. I curse like a sailor now. The officer said the inmate's gonna train you how to be an officer. And man, if you go in and they perceive some as weakness, it's plenty of predators in there that's gonna make you miserable. And
yeah, they're gonna exploit that weakness.
Yeah, man. A lady, she's probably 5'2". I caught her smoking. So I was like, put it out, I'm gonna write you up. I wasn't even writing her up. She jumped up in my face and was yelling and puffed the cigarette and blowed smoke in my face, then went told on me. They called me to the shift office. She's down there crying. And I don't know what to do, man. And so
yeah, you're like in a state of shock. What was the craziest thing that you saw at the women's prison when you were there?
Man, I probably got 1,000 things, man. It was this one crazy lady. I'll just give you it was so much stuff, man. They would come to the tower and moon you and flash you.
Damn, bro. They don't give a fuck, huh?
I mean, it's a level 5, so it's pretty serious, man. I've had people, inmates assault me because they just didn't care. I've had inmates actually grab my privates, grab my butt. But I'll give you this one story. There's this one lady, and I'm sort of a rookie. I'm about 4 months in. They send me down there as a prank. They already know what's going to happen. Every time you go by, the rumor is she's possessed, man. And I work over on third shift. She hit the button and she whispered, like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to slit your throat. It was just horrible. And like you in there, and some people like, she's possessed. Sometimes she have 8 different voices coming out of you or at one time. So I'm already knowing her rep. So one day I go in there. She always yell threats and vulgar stuff at you when you go by. One day they send me down there because it's shower day, and she's just on her best behavior. She's speaking and stuff. How you doing, officer? So man, I'm falling for her. I'm like, wow, she's really warming up today. And I cuff her up, lock her in the shower. She got 15 minutes. 15 minutes come. I cuff up, time to cuff up. She still in the shower. I give her about 5 more minutes to finish up, go back. She's still in the shower. So I'm like, okay, I realize she's not coming out. I call for backup. They send another officer down. We 2 males. We go in. We got to extract her out of the shower room. She's lathering up with body wash, man. And, it's all over the floor. She's put it all over the floor. And we go in there. We got to get her out of the shower. This lady's totally nude. And you slipping. Like when she starts struggling, we're on the ground the whole time. And man, water's all over me. I'm completely wet. And she's pressing her breast in my face, her butt in my face, her vagina, trying to put it in my mouth. And it's so slippery, we can't restrain her. And after about 3 minutes, man, I just kind of crawled out and went down there. And it's like, they done it as a joke. They knew what was going to happen and stuff, man. And we finally were able to drag her out of there. And I was like, man, don't ever do that again. But it's crazy being a male, having all that done to you, man.
Yeah, well, with that situation, it kind of brings me to my next question. So I know as inmates what we do to the guards. I also know what the guards do to us. And I think it's just a back and forth thing. Was there ever a time in your career when you were a guard and like, I would think it would be that situation for me, that just what they were doing, like provoking you and shit, that you just finally were like, man, and snapped?
Well, here's the thing with me. I'm going to wait till they cross the line and legally I can hurt them. But a lot of us had sadistic, and these are ones you consider by the book also. A lot of them had sadistic mindsets. They knew point you cross where they can use force. And then when that came, when you cross that line, you know, you got to get a body chart anyway. We could beat you however we want. So that was a wrong attitude to have. And man, you had people who did not understand, and they want to beat you in cuffs and do illegal stuff you can't explain in court. And those officers would be the first ones when you go to internal investigations or go in court to turn evidence. And man, they'll do some crazy stuff. Well, we'll have officers that I tried to be professional. I didn't bother anybody, but it was more like, okay, you crossed this line. I loved to fight before I came to corrections. I wasn't afraid of physical confrontation. I kind of liked it and got off on it. But you got people who, you know, I wasn't trying to do anything illegal. I get you restrained and it's over with, and I don't come back for you the next day or be vindictive.
When that was going on though, and you're watching the other officers that are doing like shit that, you know, is against the law, like when you saw that, was there a separation between those type of guards and like guards like you that were actually trying to follow the law?
No, it's DOC gang, man.
It's the biggest gang in the world.
blue wall of silence. I mean, I've actually stopped some people because it wasn't because I gave a shit about inmates. It was just I've been sued 4 times, 5 times by inmates, and I've been sued twice outside of DOC, civil suits. So you don't, once you start going through things like that, you do not want to keep getting in situations like that. It is very uncomfortable, and the consequences are steep. So
what did you get sued for 4 times by inmates? I didn't even know you could sue somebody like individually.
yeah, you can sue through DOC, but the max payout is $500. And you can also sue for policy change and disciplinary action against the officer. Uh, I won all my suits because, like I say, I know the law. Before I put my hands on you, you're gonna cross that line, and I'm gonna give you
okay,
orders and stuff. But I got sued for basically excessive use of force. I'm not gonna lie, we sort of, if a grown man approaches me aggressive or puts his hands on me, my attitude is try to pick him up as high as I can and slam him on his head as hard as I can. I would never go and see a guy doing something minor, maybe smoking a cigarette on a cell phone, and slap him or anything like that. Those guys will kill you, But there's gonna always be conflict. You got that many people in there, and it's gonna always be conflict, man. But you got some officers, they just lunatics, man. They were into all kinds of crazy stuff and get you in crazy situations. I've actually had to restrain officers and write their disciplinary reports for them because they don't understand the SOPs or the institutional rules.
Was there ever a time that you got into it with an inmate where like he started getting the best of you?
A lot of them, what I learned is if an inmate in his mind, he believes he's right, he'll kill you. If he knows he's wrong or he believes he's wrong, he'll sort of bow out. And plus, if an inmate was to assault me, not only does he get his custody, he could lose his good time, all of that stuff. I can take that incident report and file a free roll charge. In Alabama, they usually add 20 years to your sentence for assaulting an officer. So I have that weight weighing against them. It's not they're not afraid to fight me. They love to get the one-on-one with me. But and I'm not the biggest, baddest person. There were people I was afraid of in there. I'm not gonna get on here and lie like I'm, He-Man or something like that. But the system, and like I say, the numbers, anytime somebody getting aggressive with me, first thing I'm doing is I'm getting on the radio so help can get there. And that's what they're afraid of. They're not afraid of me. So
out of your time working in Alabama, man, at these crazy prisons, who was like the craziest person you came into contact with?
Like striking fear in you. It was this huge dude. Well, he wasn't huge. He's probably about 6'2", 6'3", but he was huge, like muscular, thick. He didn't work out. He was just naturally strong. But it wasn't, I'm not afraid to throw down with people. This fear is based on something unknown. If you saw an alien or a monster, you would fear that more than you fear like something you know of. So
like stuff you're familiar with is what you're saying.
Yeah, once you get familiar with Jason or Freddy Krueger, it's comical now. It's no longer scary. But the first time you saw it, because it was unknown, you didn't know how to kill him or beat him.
Yeah.
You know anything about him. And that's how it was. This dude, he was basically almost mentally retarded. He was severely mentally ill. The guy bit all the first digits off of all of his fingers. But he was like strong, man. He could pick up vending machines and he would attack inmates randomly, and he attack officers randomly. So you didn't know if you just walk by, the guy just jump up and bite your ear off like he Mike Tyson or something. So that's what kind of feared me about him. And he's not a little guy that you're gonna just handle. If he decides to just assault you randomly for no reason, you're gonna be in for a tussle. So he kind of struck fear in me, but they got him out of there. He went crazy on an inmate, and a few officers hurt, like 4 officers, and they maxed him up. But I was more afraid of the women because, socially, you don't know. Socially, it's okay to beat up a guy. It's not okay to beat up a girl. So we have to use force. So it was always hesitant. I mean, I remember it was this lady. She was real strong. She was about 6'1", and man, I used to want to be Hulk Hogan. So I used to watch this woman biceps and forearms. I was envious, man. I was jealous, and she didn't work out. She was just naturally strong. She looked like she had a man's body. like Paul Bunyan or something, man. And she just had this menacing look. I was always afraid to look her in the eyes and stuff. But,
She take
'cause I
your
was like,
soul,
it's
bro.
embarrassing to have. It's so embarrassing to have to go 100% fight. I couldn't try to put cuffs and try to restrain. I would have to fist fight with this lady, and she probably give me a good go for my money.
That's one of them ones where you don't get any points. You know what I'm saying?
And the worst one was like a lady, she was only 5'4", beautiful lady, probably in her mid-30s and stuff. And I do a little amateur boxing, a little amateur MMA. So I know who's for real. She was in SEG, man. She was doing like some martial art warm-ups and aerial roundhouses and stuff. And it was so fast, you could barely see how many times she was kicking. And I said, she gets into it, I'm not running in there. I'm running out.
Hey, you got Jackie Chan up in there.
Yeah, man. But
what was the most creative way you've seen inmates smuggle in contraband?
It's so many things, man. I saw people always complain about how strict we are at visitation, wearing dresses and things like that. I've seen women smuggle drugs under their breast and put drugs, let the baby crap his pamper and put drugs in the baby pamper.
Then throw it away and then another inmate goes and grabs it?
No, they'll just change the diaper out.
Oh my God.
They'll break the diaper and change the diaper out and hand it to the inmate. Inmate go wash it and swallow it. It's all
That's
kind
savage.
The number one way they get it in, man, is they pay guards and stuff. I've actually had 2 women try to seduce me because they knew an inmate. And the inmate will send if he found out like your social media or where you live or something, he'll send a beautiful woman he knows to seduce you, and they'll try to get you to bring stuff in, man, and they'll offer you money and stuff.
What kind of money are they offering you guys to do that?
Oh man, it's probably, it depends on with cell phones, a little $30 flip phone they buy, put it in your pocket, they probably give you $100 to bring one of those in. For the bigger phones or the smartphones, it runs about $200. Now, when there's a drought, maybe the officers have done the institute shakedown, no one has phones, you could get $500 a phone, $600, $800 a phone. Drugs have different prices depending on the demand.
Is K2 an epidemic in the prison system in Alabama?
Oh, you talking about that spice synthetic marijuana? Well, let me explain what that is. They used to sell that. They banned it. It's an incense.
They used to sell it in gas stations and shit.
Yeah, but they banned it a lot because, man, the effects of it. The inmates smoke it because we can't detect it. It's so many different strands of it. Unless we know the specific strand, we cannot test them dirty. So that's why they take a risk. And they say it's like marijuana. It is not like marijuana. This stuff, the freakouts, people freeze, crap themselves, pee on themselves, can't move for hours. They freak out. We was watching a video because it got caught on camera laughing, and this guy, they was passing the joint, and he passed the joint to his friend. His friend got paranoid and just punched him in the head. Then he ran and punched another inmate. Then he punched the officer. Then he punched another inmate. Inmate beat the crap out of him, and he went to the hospital. We had a guy smoke it. He ran through the razor wire, cut himself up. Ran all through the woods, barefooted. We had a guy, I remember one guy we had to tackle. He was running, acting crazy. And he was like, they trying to kill me. They trying to kill me. We trying to calm down. We had dark uniforms at that time. He looked, he was like, oh no, y'all in all black. Y'all gonna kill me. Y'all gonna kill me. I've seen some dudes wig out. And I'm gonna tell you a personal story about that too. I was like, my cousin, we would double date and stuff. And I was like, the inmates smoke this stuff. This before I knew the effects when it first hit prison. I was like, they smoke this stuff and they say it doesn't show up in drug tests. So he bought some and we was going to go on a double date. And then I was like, I found out, I was like, hey man, don't deal with this stuff. They say it's making people lose their mind. And he smoked it. And oh my goodness, he was crying and telling people he about to die. He ripped off his shirt and was running around. And
damn, bro.
Bought him, tried to bust it on someone's car. He's 6'6", man, like 300 pounds. He was tripping out. So, man, stay away from this stuff. We've had people die, inmates have died from smoking it. Anything can happen.
Did you ever see any guards get into relationships with inmates? Or did you?
All the time. Well, we'll say that for another interview. But I'll explain net. But yeah, man, that happens all the time. It's just like high school. You got 900 inmates, 1,000 inmates, 1,400, 2,000 inmates. It's just like high school. You're gonna find someone you find very attractive. You're gonna find someone you couldn't build a better person in their physical makeup. In your imagination, you couldn't build a better person. You're gonna find people that you just get infatuated, love at first sight. All that is gonna happen. You assume that they're all murderers and they're disgusting people. And I've met people who are more intelligent than me, morally better than me, and just, superior in many different ways. And once you see the human side, because no one's robbing 99% of the time, 1% of the time they commit a crime. The rest of the time they're human beings. And once you see that and you connect with them, you can become easily infatuated with one, man. I've seen people ruin their lives. Worst case, a lady, she dated an inmate for over a decade. Her kids weren't even her husband. She had twins. And the twins ran in the inmate's family. Her husband thought it was his, and they found like letters and pictures, and then she ended up getting fired. And she had a room, I don't want to talk about people and stuff, because it's good people getting hurt by this, but her husband was a pastor and an officer as well, and her son, her first son was an officer. And these are people all in the department, and you get, fired and arrested for, all of this craziness.
In Florida, man, all the officers kind of live in a trailer park next to the prisons. Is that kind of how it is there, or is it different?
No. We gotta, if you're transferring from another prison and it's a long ways away, they will offer state housings and trailers for you. But no, if you're in the area and you sign up for that prison, you're gonna find your own place. But you can rent trailers and houses that they state owns in the area if you're transferring. So,
what was the craziest prison, man, that you worked at?
Women's prisons by far, man. It's so much different.
Like that, huh?
Yeah, it was just a level 5, man. I never worked at the level 5 and level 6 men's prison, where they're rioting and stuff. But I've heard stories, and I know officers who worked there. But
you never worked in a men's prison though?
Yeah, I worked at I worked at Staten, which is level 4, and I worked at work. Each time you're starting over. Every institution is designed different, and they have different rules. Inmates, I wouldn't say inmates run Staten, but inmates was like all the inmates wanted to go to Staten because the officers in the institution was lax on the rules. So it was like a lot of inmates wanted to be there.
So when you were in the male's prison, man, like from, coming from the women's prison, going into the male prisons, what was some of the things like that were different immediately when you started there?
Well, like I say, first, when I ran up on that female smoking, she jumped up in my face, like she wanted to fight me. I backed away, blew smoke in my face, all that craziness. I get over there, and I'm probably like a week into the men's prison. I transfer over there, and I walk down, and a dude smoking. And like my heart just drops to the floor, because I'm like, man, this dude ain't finna get up all in my face. It's finna be on. I'm gonna hurt him. I'm thinking, it's World War III. So I'm like, hey, man, I'm thinking about the other situation and the disrespect at the females' prison. So I'm like, I get aggressive. I'm like, hey, man, put that out. What's wrong with you? And he looks up to me. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, officer. Puts it out on the back. I didn't see you there. And I didn't know what to do. I was like, oh, this might work. But the dudes are more like, they're relaxed. They want their time to be easy. They want to violate and be under the radar of the staff, so they don't want to mess that up. Women, they don't care, man. They just.
How is the visitation for males in the Alabama prison system?
Well, they didn't allow me. I'm not a popular officer, they didn't allow me to do it that much. They sort of got like favorite officers to do those things. But I worked it a few times. Is
it conjugal visits, or is it
No, absolutely not. I think federal only does that, and maybe larger states. I don't know of a prison in the Southeast that allows conjugal visits.
So how did the men in there, like, there's people doing 20, 25 years. So is there a way for them to sneak a woman in, or does any of that shit go on?
Yes, that happens. So yeah, there was one guy, he had inmates to move the vending machine just a little bit so they can get up behind there. So inmates would sneak, if the officer, maybe 1 or 2 officers walking around, inmates would sneak and slip behind there, you wouldn't know it. And they could get a quick in. They might start a disturbance. Two guys might go to shoving and yelling. You might have to escort them out. They'll get something in there. With the visitation,
are people getting raped in the Alabama system? Men?
Well, you don't have to be raped if you don't want to. With the PREA laws, there are people being finessed into being raped, though. It's not as bad back in the day, 80s, 70s, man. 90s, early 90s, yeah, you pretty much 70% of the population is gonna get raped. But with the PREA laws, all you gotta do, man, is save that DNA. They give you an orientation. You can report it to staff. Staff will get fired. Will get put in handcuffs. If they don't report that, they do not play about the PREA reports. They give you orientation on how to save the DNA, and you can even go to the phone if you don't feel comfortable with the staff and call the PREA hotline. And that inmate will basically probably get life added on to their sentence, and they will transfer you out. And no one really looks at that as snitching. You have groups that will try to pressure you if you're a weak individual. And now there's a lot of the gangs, or some of the gangs are allowing the younger guys who come in to be homosexual. Used to didn't have that. So homosexuals having that you could pay. I remember, I'll tell you a story about that. I mean, you can pay an item or two and have homosexuals. It's always homosexuals in there who you pay to play. It's just stupid to really rape people. If you're very weak, you're very small, you're gonna have some people try you, and if they can get you where you won't do the PREA, then yeah, you can get raped. But
so does this shit go on like in the dorm? Like you could happen to walk in to do count one night and like they're just doing it in the open, or do you guys contain that?
Some officers be like, leave it alone, don't bother them. I didn't want them getting out of hand. I've caught guys in a little shower before doing my count. I kept missing count, and it was two guys in the shower behind the curtain instead of one. So I started yelling at the guy, and I pulled the curtain. There's two guys in there, and they wouldn't come out. They was yelling back at me like, "Go on with your count. We gonna finish."
That's crazy.
Yeah, they was yelling at me like,
around here.
I just whipped out my spray. Y'all gonna get sprayed up? Come on out. And they came out. They was hot, man. It was another guy. I didn't want a race ride to start. So this white guy, we had a day where the family could come, certain inmates, and bring them food from the freeway. And one guy's family brought him Subway. And the guy, one of the white guys, went and ate his food, and his family was peed off. He was peed off. And of course, that could turn into, a race war real quick. So I told the black guy, I was like, hey, that was effed up. We kicked him off, made his family go, leave. And then the black guy, we told him, okay. I said, look, man, we don't need no rides and stuff. I got you. I'm going to bring you some stuff in. So I told my supervisor, like, I'm going to bring him a pizza or something. Well, I kept forgetting. But, like, it was like week after week, and he come up to me every couple of days, like, hey, you got me today? I was like, oh, I forgot. I got you. After a couple of weeks, he just started giving me this real disappointed look. So after like a month and a half, I remembered him. I think I bought him a pizza. I brought him like a 6-pack of sodas and like 4 or 5 more items. And I dropped it off to him. And immediately I left out, and I came back about 7 minutes later. He had the sheets up around his bed. They were finished. Him and the transsexual was sitting on the bed drinking the teas I had brought them and stuff. I said, never again, man. I'm supporting terrorists.
They were trying to get you up under the wing, bro. Yeah. So this guy's definitely got some crazy stories. I hope you guys are enjoying these. I'm going to bring him back on the channel to do a part 2. Make sure you're subscribed and you have your post notifications on all. So when that part 2 does drop, you'll be able to hear it first. Man, I know you got a book, bro, and I want to give you the opportunity in case anybody watching wants to buy the book, man. Go ahead and tell them how they can do that.
Okay, you guys support me by visiting my website, corruptauthor.com, and you can get my novels there, man. You just go browse around. The traffic will help you out. And also, you watching this, like it, share it, comment, man. Help this guy out because he's trying to do a best thing. Shout out to Beth Shelburne. She's a Alabama reporter, investigative reporter, and she helped expose a lot of corruption and bring the U.S. Justice Department in on the Alabama Department.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for that, man.
And with that, it's DOC TV, and we're out.